You know, when you start a business, you're a one-man band.
Yep.
You can relate to this. So you do everything.
Yep.
And there comes a time where you've got to transition to, you have to create the same music, but you're the conductor of an orchestra. So now you can't touch any instruments. Like, you literally can't touch anything.
Yeah.
And what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they think that they're being a conductor, but what they've actually done is they've just created a lot of people that follow them around and help them be the one-man band.
Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. Today we have Brad Martineau, who is the CEO of 6th Division and the founder of Plus This. After hitting 7 figures their first year in business, Brad and his team have invested millions of dollars and logged over 50,000 hours in the trenches with entrepreneurs at every stage of business across nearly every industry. Going on 6 years, he's worked with names like Digital Marketer, Amy Porterfield, and Frank Kern. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Good. So tell me what you feel like is your unique skill set.
So I feel like my unique skill set is taking systems and process to actually get stuff implemented. I found, as I've worked with entrepreneurs over the last 6 years, and as we've done it at 6th Division, found that a lot of people get a lot of ideas and they have a lot of visions of what they want to create.
Yeah.
And for some reason they get lost in this nebulous land of, I can't get anything implemented. And what I specialize at, what my unique skill set is and what my team's unique skill set is we can come in and really bring clarity to, I've got a bunch of ideas, like how to turn those into something.
Yeah.
Like how to actually get stuff implemented.
Yeah. When I got started, I remember feeling like there was so much to learn that I would come to conferences and take courses, and I bought, I don't even know how much money I spent on $2,000 at a time on different things, and at some point I kind of like realized like I have to get out of learning mode and like get into actually doing something mode. Like, I'm not actually going to go to anything else until I get something done. But that said, like, all that education was important.
Right.
So when do you think how do you know when to like draw the line on this like kind of education phase?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. See, I think it's not, I don't know that there's as much about drawing a line when you're out learning, because in the learning process, there's the receiving of information, and then there's how you decide what to go do with it.
Yeah.
And so we've got a process that we walk people through, and when you're out going to learn, what you have to recognize is that you can have really good ideas at the wrong time. And the wrong time just means that, you go to an event or you buy the course for $2,000 and you get hundreds of ideas, and most of them are not going to have anything to do with what you're trying to do in your business right now.
Yeah,
but they're going to be really sexy.
Yeah.
So the way that you stay anchored and the way that you make sense of which ideas do I actually go after is you get really clear on what your goals are. Like, what am I actually trying to accomplish in my business? And you got to get really specific. So, let's say you have a software company, just theoretically.
Theoretically speaking.
Yeah, theoretically speaking. And you have, your goal is to reduce churn. That's your primary focus. Then when I'm out going to conferences or when I'm getting ideas, I'm not looking at anything other than things that are going to help me reduce churn.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm trying to boost customer engagement, or if I'm trying to add new members to my software subscription, then that might change which events I go to.
Yeah.
It might change which courses that I buy. And if I'm at an event and I get a bunch of ideas, I filter through them and say, well, this one's a great idea for later.
Yeah.
And this is another one for later. So that what you're left with is a small subset of ideas that apply to where you are in your business. Yeah. And then you can actually go implement those.
Totally.
Most people do what you do. They've got like a wall of $2,000 courses that they paid, $2,000 or 3 payments of $695. And then what they do is they look at all of them like, holy crap, there's no way I can get that stuff implemented.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, just move the stuff away that doesn't apply to you right now. You can always come back to it later. Then you've got a small subset you can actually go do something with.
So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, some of the examples you gave are typical goals of a more sophisticated business, right? Like reduce churn, increase engagement, whatever. Most of the people that I talk to, and probably you talk to, are like, I just need more customers. And the more customers question has 1,000 different answers.
Yeah.
And you go to the conference and a lot of the people are talking about more customers, and it's like, oh, it's Instagram today, and it's Snapchat, and it's Facebook ads, and it's webinars, and it's blah, 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 blah. How do you recommend people make a decision between, all the recommendations coming at them?
Yeah, so the key is in the question that you asked. It's you have to decide.
Yeah.
And the way that you decide, see, what most people want to do is they either go one of two routes. They have a bunch of ideas and they feel like, I've got to do all of them.
Yeah.
And that typically comes because they're asking the question, or they're trying to figure out, how do I get more customers, which I think is a horrible goal. It's not how do I get more customers, It's which product or service am I trying to sell in my business right now, and how many units am I trying to sell? And then as I go out, if that's what I'm trying to do, I want to go out and I'm looking for conferences and events and speakers and courses that are specifically talking about, again, if it's a software company or a services company like ours, then what I'm going out to look for is I want to go find other companies or other speakers or other courses that are specifically talking about how to increase the number of customers I get for that type of product or service. And then I've got to work backwards and I've got to look, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Like I've got to start to break it down to, well, I'm going to do it by increasing the quality of how I handle my sales conversations. So, in the business, we talk about with our clients about building a predictable client journey.
Yeah.
On the one side, you've got clients, and then before that, you've got prospects, and before that, you've got leads.
Yeah.
And what most people do is they say, I just want to get more clients.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great, but like how? Like, what are you going to do? That's like saying I want to lose weight and then being confused because you don't have a workout plan. Like, you've got to go create a plan, and as you go to look at that, the key is most people are waiting for like the perfect answer. So they're looking at, well, is it Instagram, or is it YouTube, or is it Facebook, or is it this? And they're looking for some mathematical, algorithmic calculation that says that's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
And I mean, you built a successful business, and you know as well as anybody else, you go ask anyone that's been successful, and the way you get to the right answer is you look at one that feels good and you do it. And then it works or it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And then you go iterate on it and you tweak it.
Right.
And then it doesn't work.
Right.
Or it works a little bit better but not quite what you want. And then you iterate on it and you tweak it. And then you keep going until at some point it either works or you're like, okay, that clearly doesn't work. I put enough time and energy, I'm going to move to the next one.
Yeah.
Most people are afraid to just go do.
Yeah.
And so what they want to do is they're trying to figure out the answer in their mind without actually trying something.
Yeah.
So what I would say is like you go and you're going to look at all the things and you're like in your gut you're going to know whether YouTube fits for your business.
Right.
So in your gut, like you just have to trust your gut and decide like, okay, I'm here, they're talking about it, like that's just not my audience. Then leave.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and feel like you're obligated to implement
Start a
YouTube or
YouTube
whatever.
channel.
Yeah, start a YouTube channel just because the guy's talking about it and swears that it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
He doesn't know your business or she doesn't know your business the way you do, and you've got to combine both of them, decide, go implement it, then see what actually happened. That means you actually have to look at the results, which most people don't do.
Right.
And then you know that you're building it. Like it's going to take several iterations to turn it into something that actually works.
Okay, so I'm supposed to ask you the next question, but I'm going to keep going on this thread. You try something, it doesn't work, it works a little better, but not really where you want it to be. At what point do you pull the plug on that and actually go try something different? And I ask the question because I see people pulling the plug too early.
Yep.
But also pulling the plug too late sometimes. You know what I mean? Putting too much energy into a sunk cause. How do you make that call?
Yeah. So on the side of there's two questions there. One is on the side of pulling the plug too early. What I do and when I talk with people is I just look if somebody else is making this work in a business that's similar to mine.
Yeah.
So I had actually shared an Uber over here with Joe Polish, and his story is that when
Who's Joe Polish?
Joe Polish is this marketing guy, whatever.
Kidding.
Anyway, so we shared it over, and his story is I was sharing it with my team. His story is that he was in the carpet cleaning business, and it didn't work, and he was talking to a mentor, and he's like, hey, this just doesn't work. I want to get into a different industry. And the guy's like, well, look, is anybody else in that industry making money?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, then the problem's not the industry, it's you. And that applies to the same principle. So for me, if I'm on the side of, is this too early?
Yeah.
I'm going to look around and say, you know what? There's like, for my business, we're a services business. There's another services business that's doing the same thing and it's working. Okay, then I just haven't figured something out yet.
So it's doable. As long as you know it's doable, then keep at it.
Yeah, and then on the other side of it, you're holding on too long, that you just got to listen to your gut. Your gut will tell you when you're going way too long. Like if it's clear that no one else has proven it and you're just stopping short, then you got to listen to your gut that's like, yeah, I probably ought to stop this and not fall into the, I feel like I have to do this because somebody talked about it mode.
Good. So tell me what's working now for you in your business. You said you're a services business, but you're also you also have a very successful software product.
Yeah, yep. So we've got Sixth Division is an agency, and then plus this is a software company.
Okay, gotcha.
And I would say the biggest thing that's working is we focus like crazy on amazing customer experience. And on the services side, on the agency side, what a lot of that looks like is every chance we get, we try and get people out to our office. Which means we've architected our entire service suite, our entire service menu around at some point we want them to walk into our office so that we can create an experience. We take them out to dinner, we go to Top Golf. Like we want to create an experience. And then on the plus this side, we do the same thing, but it's not about getting into the office, but we have an environment, and it really is all about, like everything we do is about having clients that just love every interaction with us.
Yeah.
So the thing that's working, and it's not like a specific tactic, it's more of a strategy that just bleeds through everything, is all the way down to if somebody's asking for a refund because we did something and it didn't work, I want them walking out the door saying, holy crap, that's the coolest company I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So everything we do, what we're looking for is how do I have this person leave just over the moon excited about the fact that they interacted with us, no matter what the outcome is.
Right, and so presumably the end game of that strategy is referrals.
Yep.
And so is your business growing like primarily on referrals, or are you also doing marketing, or how does that work?
It's referrals. We also have like like a retainer type service offering, so we keep people to stay longer. But yeah, it's a lot of referrals. It's a lot of just brand.
Yeah.
So when we talk to people and prospects come in, they typically already know who we are.
Right.
Because people talk about us and people are like, dude, they have a great experience. They're the real deal.
Yeah.
So it's the backdrop for everything else that we do, from marketing to sales to how we're doing with clients. Is we have this backdrop of, they just take care of their customers.
Yeah.
They're really good. So, I mean, and that really is like everything we do, down to like, we were talking about kids before, before we got on camera, and I scour on Facebook, and if I see a client or a prospect or a partner that has a kid, we actually printed up 6th Division onesies and we'll drop them in the mail. So it's like
Nice.
you look for stuff
Yeah.
to drop to people or to send to people where you actually care, and it just creates like, hey, there's something different about those guys.
Yeah.
And everything else gets way easier.
Yeah, got it. So what's next for you? What are you learning? What's kind of like the cutting edge for you and your business?
Yeah, so for me, I'm in this transition from owner-operator
Yeah,
to more owner-investor/leader.
yeah.
And so
How many people are in your companies now?
we've got 15 in 6th Division. We're adding another 2 or 3 right now, and then there's my business partner runs plus this, so I don't actually know. There's like 7 or 8 at plus this.
Got it.
And there are other things that we're starting to see, like, hey, there are complementary things that we can build.
Yeah.
And so I'm in this transition, and I've had conversations with my team. Look, nothing in this company can depend on my role.
Yeah.
So, and it was really interesting. There's an analogy I heard that I love, that, when you start a business, you're a one-man band.
Yeah.
You can relate to this. So you do everything.
Yep.
And there comes a time where you've got to transition to, you have to create the same music, but you're the conductor of an orchestra. So now you can't touch any instruments. Like, you literally can't touch anything.
Yeah.
And what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they think that they're being a conductor, but what they've actually done is they've just created a lot of people that follow them around and help them be the one-man band. And that's usually when they get to a point of like, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Why do I have all these people, but like I'm working more, I'm working harder, I'm working longer, we're not getting where we want.
It's hard.
It's like, you've got to take that instrument off and hand it to them, and then take that one off and hand it to them, take that one off and hand it to them, and let them actually go figure out how to do it, and you have to basically run the business without touching anything.
And how are you being successful with that?
So
that's a hard problem.
Yeah, it is a hard problem. One, I got committed to it. So there's a difference between I want it and I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
I've talked about wanting it forever and I haven't done anything.
Right.
So I got committed to it. So a couple of small things I've done. One, I got my leadership team together and I said, okay, look, like I just had the conversation. Nothing in this company can depend on my role.
Yeah.
So, which means I will not do any work in my office on my own. I will only do work where I'm supporting somebody else whose job it is to actually do the work. So we've established that. And there's a trend.
You just made the call one
I just
day.
said, look, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is it. And I also recognize that I can't do that overnight because I have a lot of things that I'm doing. So if there is a time as we're going through this transition where I've got to do work, I'm documenting everything that I did, and then I'll send it to the team. It's like, hey, just so you know, this thing was supposed to happen over here, and I went and I did all of these things. And I'm not saying, hey, I did these things, slackers.
Yeah.
I'm saying, here's what goes
process.
in. When I'm the one-man band, here's what goes into it, and I want you to be aware of what is your responsibility.
Yeah.
The other thing I did is I moved myself out of my office, so I don't have an office anymore.
Oh.
So I have a desk in the middle of our office that I sit at, but I intentionally got out of the office as like a physical reminder for me that like, you don't have a space. You don't need a space.
Yeah.
Your work is done in other people's spaces.
Interesting.
So I took myself out of an office, and then I daily have to practice the discipline. I have to catch myself when I start to play the instruments again.
Writing emails or
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
writing emails. Okay, no, I can't. No, I'm doing this. Somebody else should be sitting here. And so we've got a rhythm in place where when I start to do something, I turn to my ops manager and say, okay, here's something that I'm doing that somebody, like, who owns this?
Yeah.
And then we've got our org chart lined up, and we just go through and say, okay, this person owns it.
Yeah.
And we're finding stuff that we didn't even know people owned. So it's not like, oh, they owned it and they should be doing this.
Yeah, it's
like,
all new. Yeah.
Oh, nobody had this.
Yeah.
Okay, well now it goes here.
Yep.
And so just starting to shift everything off.
Good.
So yeah, those are some of the things that I'm working on. And it is both intimidating as an entrepreneur to let go.
Oh my God.
And yeah, you get that. And also really, really exciting about what I think is going to be possible.
Yeah. Way more capacity.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I had like a 2-hour moment probably 2 weeks ago where I sat down and was like, okay, what do I need to do? I was like, I don't actually have anything that I need to do. And there was a moment of like, oh crap, I need to go find something. No, I don't actually. I'm just going to walk around and see what people are working on, and I can go help them.
Interesting.
And it was the most liberating. I was like, this is amazing, and that's what we're working towards. So it's really, really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that. So tell me about the big picture, your legacy. What do you imagine your legacy should be?
So I create businesses, and I like to create businesses, and it has a lot less to do with the business. I like to create businesses because that means I get to hire people, and that means I get to lead people.
Yeah.
So I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't want employees because they're horrible, and like it's a whole separate conversation, but I would challenge you that if that's the case, it's because you're a horrible leader, but there's a whole separate conversation to be had there. I love helping people wake up to what's possible in life. So when I look at like my legacy and what do I want people to think about after they interact with me, I want them to think about that guy knew what he stood for. And just by the fact that I was around him, I became a better person. I became a better person in my business. I became a better person in my role at work. I became a better person when I went home to my wife, when I went home to my kids, when I went home to my family, when I interacted with my friends. Like just the way that he was changed the way that I interact with everybody else. So like I'm on a mission. I want to go create a bunch of businesses, and it's not because I have products I want to serve or I want to create. It's actually because I want to have a place to hire people. So they have they have a place to come to work like, holy crap. This is amazing. Like there's no other place like this. Well, yeah, there is. We've created some other ones, but that really is what I want to create.
Yeah, beautiful, interesting, different perspective on the whole relationship with a team than most people have. Good. So modern entrepreneur, we are calling this thing. What do you feel like it means to be a modern entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a really fascinating question. So when I think modern entrepreneur, I actually think that there are some ties back to like what entrepreneurs were like in the very beginning. And I'm not like a historian, so this is kind of like my loose observation. So if somebody could probably go pull up stats like, well, that's not actually true, but it won't change the definition of what I think of when I think of
in the post-fact world. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So for me, I look like way back in the day, like when the U.S. is getting started. There's a little mini series, "The Men Who Built America." Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's friggin' fantastic. I look back then, and what I see is people who understood what it took to actually be successful and actually create things. And they had a better sense of what they stood for and what they wanted to go create. Now, the way that they might have handled their team members and their employees, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I feel like back then...
I think they called them slaves, actually.
Well, I'm not going back that far necessarily, but so I feel like there were true principles of success and hard work and creation that people really latched onto, and they got companies that they meant something, they stood for something. And then there's this phase in the middle where that kind of got disconnected, and you've got this phase of corporate companies that you got a lot of corporate scandals going on. You got a lot of that kind of stuff going on. For me, what that's an indication of, it's an indication of a company who forgot that there's a reason why they started the company, and it shifted to just focusing on numbers. And I'm not suggesting that when you run your business, it's all touchy-feely, woo-woo happiness. Like you got to look at numbers, but when you disconnect from the purpose of why you're in business and the impact that you're trying to create, and you get sucked up into just, I'm going to go create a funnel this, or I'm going to go do this, I'm just like, the businesses lost their soul. They have no soul. And I feel like modern entrepreneur is coming back around to, you've got generations that are coming up and getting into entrepreneurship that are looking at, the whole idea of like, I just create a funnel or I just make some money, like you really quickly, you get past that and realize, no, like there's got to be a purpose to this.
A reason,
There's got to be something behind it. So for me, the modern entrepreneur actually knows what the heck they're doing. Like they know why they're in business. And there's a powerful reason behind it that is way bigger than just the product or service that they sell. It's not about a software product. Right? It's not about the fact that I can make software products do more with plus this. It's not about the fact that as an agency we can help people build this predictable client journey. It's about what sits behind that. It's about what it creates as somebody interacts with our organization and with your organization, so that when they go work with their team, they're different, which means that they and their team, when they go home to their families, they're different. And when their families go interact in the world, they're different. Like that's why I do what I do. It's not about, look, we implement stuff, cool, whatever. We do some strategy stuff. That's not it. I feel like the modern entrepreneur is the person that has realized, there's a business and there's a soul and a purpose to the business, and they're really connected to what that is.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Great to
awesome.
have you here. Would you mind signing our wall?
Yeah, no, not at all. I'd be happy to.
Good.
Bam.
probably the number one reason I am where I am right now is not because of all the things I say yes to, it's all the things I say no to.
Right.
Right, every day, it's bombarded with, promote this, I'll pay you this money to promote this.
Sure.
I don't use that,
Yeah.
right? So those are the types of things, and I think at your core, just throw yourself into the world and try to see how do you feel when you're presented with a difficult choice. Make the choice that you feel is the closest to you. Even if you think you're giving up something, you never are. It's all about that long game.